What's up, beautiful people all over the world, and thank you for tuning in to 305 Radio, a part of 305 Magazine right here on MiamiUndergroundRadio.com. This is your girl, Dre Mauve, and you can find me on the gram at 305_Brownie. I don't got to give a shout out to Will because he's in the house with us today.
That's how you know it's a good show when I'm
Yeah, right?
We got a good guest. Oh, man. This is George from 305 Magazine, and thank you for tuning in to 305 Radio. And tonight we have a very special guest. Man, a community leader, man. I love to say that about you, man.
I don't know where to start, right?
Much. I'm saying you do so much for the community, man. I'm really happy to have you on the show, Papa Keith.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and this is kind of surreal too because I've come to this building that you are as the home of Miami Media School to talk to students and encourage them to think about doing what you're doing right now. You know what I mean? Podcasts and radio, and it's something that when I got into, I took real serious. When I got into it, people would always think like radio is a stepping stone for something else, but I always was like, nah, I want to do radio. So I'm kind of passionate about it. So thank you. This is great.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Now that you mentioned that, can you just take us back into time to where it all started? Because I know you're not from Miami, are you?
No, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, by way of my parents from Trinidad.
Shout out to
Caribbean
BK.
Really, well, radio-wise, it kind of started off for me where I started off as really a DJ. I was with a couple of groups, DJing groups, mostly Caribbean. One was In Touch with my boy Garth, and then I came down to South Florida and joined a group called Soul Syndicate. And we were known for, we kind of like were the first Caribbean DJs to bridge the gap between Caribbean music and hip-hop. We were like the diaspora, so our parents were Caribbean, but we grew up as hip-hop, So we had love for them both. So we took the dynamic styles and things from reggae and introduced them to hip-hop, and took the dynamic styles and things from hip-hop and introduced it to reggae. So we were really like hot and big at the time. Myself and my crew. So it was Ricky Castro, and it was K-Lox, and so I was doing that for quite some years. We were like traveling, pretty much the whole Caribbean and the world as DJs. And I started, making a family, and was like, man, DJing is cool, but there's no retirement fund here, There's no pension, there's no insurance, And I wanted to kind of like move into something where it was a little bit more responsible, I enjoyed living full-time and working full-time as a DJ. It was great. But I wanted to try to find something to fall into. So I met up with this young lady named Darnella Dunham, and she kind of introduced me to like professional radio, so to speak, Okay. Before then, I was doing underground radio on Mix 96 and 94.5. Yeah, right. So we were one of the pioneers of being on that. Like I even used to do a morning show on the underground radios. Mm-hmm. But again, I wanted to elevate. I wanted to take things to another level. I've always been like that. I always wanted to be like on the top of it. So I figured the natural transgression would be to be on professional radio. Mm-hmm. On the FMs.
So we're talking about, when you're saying underground radio, man, we're talking about Mix 96, which is the first one that came to mind, because when you said Soul Syndicate, man, how many times have I heard Soul Syndicate in the radio?
Right.
I mean, like, if the party had Soul Syndicate on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
About it. It was insane.
Slit.
Back then, I remember probably 2 or 3 jams, but
yeah.
The jams that you come out sweating bullets, so you it was so syndicate.
Like that's what it was about. We were like really high energy, and like I said, we would take from the other cultures and introduce them to the others. So traditionally in hip hop, the DJ would be up in the booth or off in the back. You wouldn't even see the hip hop DJ. Mm-hmm. You'll hear him.
He was just playing the song.
In reggae parties, it was different. The reggae DJ will come from behind the booth, he'll go in the middle of the crowd, and he'll introduce songs and drop a punchline. That was not happening in hip-hop. Mm-hmm. So we kind of introduced that. So we would do punchlines and drop a hip-hop song and watch people react. So like true entertainment. Like
And
we had
engagement.
engagement, crowd participation. It was really like our thing.
And to go from that into just underground radio, what sparked? What was the turning point that you said, you know what, this is like legit? Like you can do the parties and whatnot, but radio's what you want to do.
Well, it was a voice, and it was an opportunity, and I love to talk. Believe it or not, I was the only child for like 17 years. So when my parents had another child, I was pretty like my daughter too, you know what I mean? Because I was 17 years old. Sure. But I, as an only child, I just loved to talk. I was always a class clown because I didn't go home to anybody. And my parents were like real adults. So like, I didn't really have anybody to connect with. So when I would go to school, I would talk people's head off because that was my only opportunity to
Release all that energy and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So that just stuck with me, So I was hyperactive. I was a class clown. I had ADD, all that kind of stuff. So, anybody with ADD, it's really, anybody has it here, I'm sure all of you have it. But facts.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you have to. This is our outlet, is entertainment, and is what we do. You know what I'm saying? So, because our mind just goes and goes. So these become our outlets,
Yeah. That's such a good way to look
yeah,
at
it's
this,
a
man.
fact. It's facts. Comedians, radio personalities, most of us have ADD.
You
So
just need a way to get this energy out.
right,
One way or
you know
another,
what I'm
just to be able
saying?
to channel this energy.
Exactly. So that was my way to do it. So I quickly kind of like it was just an extension for what I was doing in the clubs. But in the clubs, you're doing it at midnight or 4 o'clock in the morning. With radio, now you get to talk to a whole audience. So we kept that same energy and did it on underground radio. Because at that time, how the underground radio used to work, it was DJ music. So we would literally, what you get in the club, you turn on the radio and get that same energy, So it was actually a transition for me to actually start doing real radio where there was no DJ rocking out with me and, and I had only like 2 minutes to say what I have to say.
It's kind of rough though.
Oh my God.
Come on, that's like
Oh,
putting someone in a cage.
Listen, I got fired. I got all kind of stuff, learning how to conform. But, as you mature, you realize what's important and you end up conforming to a degree, without losing yourself.
I've been here for a few years. I don't think I can conform.
You're still here, honey. You're good. Like, if it was that bad, you'd have been fired already. So you're good. You're doing fine.
So are you still doing Soul Syndicate?
No, I've moved
every now
on
and then
since
get a,
then.
reunion going?
No, we kind of, set our different paths. I have love for the brothers. They introduced me to Florida and they took me in. I literally lived with them until, I branched off and did my own thing. So, and I'll always be grateful for them. But, as you grow and mature, you want different things and sometimes people grow apart,
Okay.
I still talk to K-Lox, I just spoke to him today. As a matter of fact, he'll check on me. But, it's all good. We all are happy for each other respectively, But after that, I kind of moved on to another sound. After we broke up with that crew, I was just on my own. Mm-hmm. And I went for years specifically making sure I didn't want to join any other group,
Okay.
Until finally I kind of gave in and connected with another guy named Renegade. And then we kind of did, our thing for a few years, which helped me elevate some more. He's a really smart, young, pioneering guy. He was the first DJ to play with a computer in South Florida. So when the Seratos, now everybody plays a computer. Right. So this was he was one of the pioneers. People were still playing with records, and he tried it out and stuck with it. And so I connected with him, and we did our thing for a few years, and then after that, I kind of stepped away from the live DJing and focused on the radio.
All right.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. Because to go from it's like you had this evolution.
Yeah.
The evolution of the DJ, and then you've been on radio for how many years now, man?
Well, technically, I started in 1999. So technically, this year is my 20th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Right?
Jesus, man. It's dope, but I mean, I've always heard you on the radio.
Yeah.
That's why I see it.
Everybody's heard him on the radio.
Yeah, well, professionally, I started in 99, but I'll say 2000. So when I do my anniversary, it's really going to be next year.
Yeah.
Because I literally got my foot in the door the end of the year of 1999. I remember it was 99 Jams, and it's an interesting story. It's actually the story that I tell here at Miami Media School. So, kind of like a never give up story. So pretty much when I realized I wanted to do radio, I was like, okay, let me learn.
Yeah.
So I went to Miami Lakes Tech. They had a radio and video broadcasting technical school at that time.
Okay.
They don't have it anymore now. So they had it at the time. It was a year course. So I took it. I did it in like 9 months, and I left there. And I would go to 99 Jams every day after school and sit in the lobby, and they would say, okay, who are you here to see? I'm here to see the program director. Do you have an appointment? No. And then I would just sit there until they close, ask me to leave, and I'll leave. It was like about 2 hours, 3 hours, after school.
How many times did you do this, man?
I did that for
Quite a while, huh?
2 months.
What?
I did that for 2 months. And then, weirdly enough, because at that time, my friend Darnella was working there. So by that time, I know everybody now because after 2 months, they're walking in and out. I'll go get people cigarettes and coffee, and I would be like a runner for them and stuff like that. So they finally let me in December of 1999. They had the top 99 songs of the year. Now, back in those days, it wasn't digital. It was CD carts. So they put the CDs in these little carts and then push them in, and in a Denon machine and play that way.
And they're numbered.
Right, that
They're
they're
numbered,
numbered.
okay.
Right, so you know how to find them. So, and then they would all be in these long cart things, from like 7 foot tall down to the bottom where you just pick out the numbered songs.
Okay.
So they had the 99 songs of the year. So they let me in so that I can pull all of the 99 songs out and stack them up and get them ready for the countdown for New Year's Eve, where they do the top 99 songs of the year. And from that day, I didn't leave. I would come in, and now they would let me in, and I started helping out a guy named Terry Alexander. He was doing afternoons at 99 Jams at that time.
Okay.
And I was like his, intern, so to speak.
There you go.
So I worked as his intern, and then I would also work in promotions.
Okay.
So then I would go out with the van, do hits on the weekends, set up for remotes and all that different kind of stuff. So I did that for a while until I got an opportunity to actually go on the air. Ironically enough, the real introduction that I got, and I don't want to leave this out because it's very important, how I even knew to go up to 99 Jams and to go there and wait it out, is because I got an opportunity. Darnella told me to go to school, and I got an opportunity to meet Darnella by doing Uncle Luke's show. So Uncle Luke had a show called The Luke Show, and that was the introduction. On that show was myself with Soul Syndicate. We would play the reggae set, and then DJ Uncle Al, rest in peace, he was the American set, and Luke would wild out, and have different guests and strippers and all that kind of stuff. So that
Good times.
Right, so that was on a Friday night. So ironically enough, that's how I got the introduction. So I was on the Luke Show, but then they did away with the Luke Show because there was a lot of controversy around it.
Parental advisory.
Right.
Just a little bit.
So, crazy enough, it left open that space. So they then put me on and DJ Khaled. That was also DJ Khaled's first radio opportunity. Him and I worked together and did the Friday night mix show.
Okay.
So it was myself and DJ Khaled from 10 to midnight, and then from midnight to 2 in the morning, it was myself hosting and King Waggy T would play the reggae.
Okay.
So again, at that time with my crew already, that was the diaspora, that was the same thing I was doing. I was hip-hop and I was Caribbean at the same time.
Felt right at home, huh?
Right, but well respected in each.
Of course.
Like anywhere I go in hip-hop, they knew what time it was. Anywhere I go in reggae, they knew what time it was. And bridge the gap. You know what I mean? I was also known, like, for the reggae parties to, like, I have this thing for Dominicans, so I would go to the reggae parties and always bring, like, the baddest Dominican chicks, which they would never see. So I was kind of, like, known for that. Like, oh, there you go.
You have the Dominican, you have their hair.
You know, pretty much, you know what I'm saying? So, anyway, so I was on with Khaled from 10 to 12, and then King Waggy T from 12 to 2 a.m., and I was on Fridays. And then it just kind of built. They gave me another show Saturday nights from like 12 to 3 in the morning. Then the guy who was doing the earlier shift quit, and then I got the earlier shift, so I was in the evenings, so I was doing 7 to midnight on Saturdays, and I just kept, getting more and more opportunities. Like, that's I always tell. I wish somebody would call in sick. That was my thing. That was my thing.
Mainstream radio seems to be just one of those businesses where it's like, if you miss an opportunity, you missed a lot of opportunities.
1,000%. So I mean, life happens. So even the most perfect person has a situation, but if you're good enough, that's your opportunity. So like to this day, and I'm considered a vet, right? Yeah. But to this day, if an opportunity arises, I don't miss. And it's kind of like been my story. To the point where just take it from then to like fast forward now, where I'm on 34 stations nationwide and have my dream position doing afternoons. But all of these things are based on opportunity, like being there, putting in the work and waiting and waiting for somebody to either can't do it or something happens or whatever, and I just shoot right in there and hold it.
Seizing the moment.
Seizing the moment.
Carpe these DMs.
You know what I mean? So I guess my story is really like in general, it's like just like really not giving up. I know people say it all the time, but like I lived it. Like
I mean, being hungry as well, man. Because to sit down in an office, just post it up for 2 months. I'm gonna wait for nothing. Just wait for nobody to come through.
But you have to gain people's respect.
I mean, I feel
you understand,
did anyone ever come up to you and be like, "Hey, Papa Keith, you remember when you were sitting down that?"
No, I don't think people kind of remember that. Only because the only person I remembered is this one girl, and because she was the receptionist. I'm having a brain fart with her name. She was a receptionist, and she would, because I would go out and get her stuff. I'd bring her something to eat, and her and I built that vibe. Right. But nobody else is not paying attention like that. You know what I mean? It probably even took like a month for them to realize, yo, that's the same guy that was here the other day. Like,
well, he's still wearing the same shirt he's been wearing for a month.
People got their lives going on, you know what I mean? So I didn't expect that. But,
Did you always perform under Papa Keith? Was that always your DJ name? Or?
It was. Papa, just so everybody knows, I know it sounds old, and I'm okay with that. But in Jamaican kind of style, Papa is like, it's sort of like how the Chinese have their kung fu styles, and the guy with the silver fox, I don't know if you're into kung fu movies or whatever, but if you notice in a kung fu movie, the guy who has the longest hair and the grayest hair, is like the master,
Like Pai Mei.
Right, so the silver fox and and all those names. So it was like the same thing in the Jamaican culture. Like whoever's named Papa is because they mastered this style.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that
Papa
there was
is master.
pretty much, and they used to call me master when I was young because I was a junior, and I guess growing up it was Master Keith. Mm-hmm. So kind of like tied in. Okay. So that's why a lot of people don't get it because they don't understand the culture, and it's like, well, Papa Keith, you have a lot of kids. Yes, I do actually, but
that's a coincidence.
That's not how I got the name.
It's purely coincidental. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Over time, of course, but it's the master of the South. So there was this Jamaican artist called Papa San, who again was known. He grew up in New York, but he's from Jamaica, and I connected so well with him because it's the same thing. Like he was on the hip hop scene, he was on the reggae scene, he was well respected in both, and then he had so many different styles. Like he could we call it rap for hip hop, but in reggae they call it back in the days chat, chat, like chatting, like a chat room or whatever. So he had so many styles. Like he could chat backwards, he could chat fast. He was sick, Okay. So he was like my idol at the time. You know what I mean? He turned to gospel music right now, but but that's how I got the name.
It
does.
So did you ever rap?
For fun, but never anything that anybody has a recording of. Absolutely not.
It doesn't matter. If you come in here, you don't even have to be a rapper. He's going to ask you to rap, dude.
Absolutely not. If you want me to drop something, you better show me a bathroom. I'll drop something in there.
Man. That That is dope. I mean, so while you've been on this journey, and I mean, you have to be hungry and determined and focused to reach your goal, to sit down in the lobby and wait for your opportunity to come, and then from there on out, it's every opportunity is something you seized. Were you always community focused?
Not at all.
The way you are now?
Not at all.
Because I know you have People Matter Fest.
Yeah.
It's coming up. How many years have you been doing this now?
This is
Third
the third
annual.
year. Yeah,
I mean, I thought it was really dope for you to put together, especially,
And it's a free event, I have to say.
Yes, it
above
is.
all else, it's free. Like, coming from the outside in perspective, you see all these DJs, Khaled does his thing, everyone does, Luke has done his thing. For the community, I mean, in small portions, in their own small ways and whatnot, but no one's really done a festival to, that really is for the community the way you did. So,
well, thank you, first of all, for recognizing that. It means a lot to me. It's quite an interesting story. So, I never had any intentions about, in community or helping others or anything like that.
I didn't want to help anybody.
Other than the people in my circle. No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah, word.
When I would look at displaced people or less fortunate people, I'd be like, get up off your ass like I did and make it happen. Not really wrapping my head around years of disparities and
The circumstances.
and the lack of resources, and really wrapping my head around how deep it was.
Yeah.
I just looked at everything superficially, like, I'd see a homeless person and be like, oh, you should have made better decisions. Not really understanding mental health, not wrapping my head around anything like that. So my goal was to get rich, not too rich, but rich enough where I can get whatever I want and provide for my family and stuff like that. So when I started kind of rising in the ranks in radio and started getting things, I got the cars I wanted. I was like going through them. I wanted a Jeep, got that. I wanted a Tesla, got that. I got the exact house I wanted. Like, nope, that's the house I wanted, like straight up. And everything was working out. Everything I wanted, I just got it. Like, everything was right at the time. It was all working out. And after obtaining those things, like, I felt like a hole in my chest. And, well, I say in my heart,
Yeah.
And I didn't understand. I'm like, you can't curse on this thing, right?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I was like, nigga, everything that you've asked for, you got. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you feel like this? What's going on? So I couldn't figure it out for like a whole year. I was just trying to like understand, like, what's going on here? Why am I feeling this way? Ironically enough, I was asked to assist in getting young people to come out and vote for the Hillary and Trump election.
Okay.
So this is what birthed it for me. Before me doing community stuff was like whatever the radio station, whether it was 103.5 The Beat or 99 Gems, whatever they would have, like, hey, we need you to go to school and talk to the kids. That was community. That was it. So if it came through the station, yeah, I'll donate my time, and that was it. And I would do that stuff. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't have issue doing it. Oh, you talk to school? All right, no problem. Oh, career day? That was what I thought was me doing my part. The one thing I did notice, though, is that all of them, every single one of those events, no disrespect to nobody, but just keeping it 1,000. Every single one of those events I did previously through the radio station, none of them made sense to me. I'm always a thinker and always wrapping my head around, different things, but none of it made sense to me. I just couldn't, understand, this is not right. But hey, it's not my event. I promised I'll be here for 2 hours. I'll do it.
You did your time.
Did my time. I'm out of there. But it just wasn't right to me, And I'll get into that.
What wasn't right? The time that you spent there, or the
just
event
the way
itself?
how the event itself. None of the events made any sense to me. Just I'm a very practical thinker, practical to the bone.
Wait, I gotta ask you before you continue. What sign are you?
Aquarius.
Okay.
What does that mean, Drea?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I'll tell you guys after. Let him
Alright,
finish
cool.
the story.
So I was just like, all right, whatever, I'll just go along. All right, so fast forward. Here comes the election. I'm asked to, hey, would you come out and host this event? to try to get millennials to come out and vote
Come out and
for
vote.
the election
Yeah.
coming up. I went to Liberty City, and when I went out there and saw the audience and the people there, I felt uncomfortable. I felt, and I'm a person, I love raw.
Yeah.
I just have this thing for rawness. So like, I'll go to jails, I'll go to all these things, as long as I'm not like, I can leave, But I have this affection for rawness. I like truth, I like rawness, I like real. Those things really do something for me. So I went to the event and I felt uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable because I felt like these were black people that were around me, and I felt like I couldn't communicate with them effectively. I'm like, damn, why are these my people? My job on the radio is to communicate with everyone, and why am I feeling uncomfortable? Like I don't understand what they go through or what their plight is. So from that moment, it was like a whirlwind with me, and it excited me. I was working with this company, this nonprofit, I think it is, called New Florida Majority. Okay. They do amazing work. They fight for the less fortunate. They encourage people to vote. They do all these different things. So I was working with them so much towards the election that I was doing sometimes 3-a-days with them. I was doing marches, this, that, and I was loving it. So on top of all my work I was doing with the stations, all the stuff that's going on, I'm still doing that stuff with them on weekends. Mm-hmm. And I would leave my family and like for the whole day, but I would feel good. Okay. At one point they were beefing with me like, yo, we haven't seen you, and I was like, yeah, but I'm out here like, like doing this. And it was slowly filling that hole in my
void
heart.
that you had.
So as I started learning more, educating myself more. Before that, the only time I voted was for Obama because he was black, keeping it 1,000. I didn't have any interest in voting. I thought my vote didn't count until I learned, and realized that, voting is the one power that we all have, rich, white, black, poor, that is equal for that one moment. It's really kind of like one of the only things.
Regardless which side you vote on. And that's
right, just the power
fact
of
that
voting.
We can't vote.
Right.
That is
the power of
gold.
voting.
That is
right.
platinum. That is above all else power, like you said.
Let's add on the layer now of being black and understanding that many people died for the opportunity for you to be able to vote.
Yeah, fact.
Like people went to war,
American
and people
history.
people died and people were beaten going to the polls. Yeah. So you could have this opportunity. Right. So like, damn, like how are you honoring them if you don't, want to take advantage of that? So I kind of started wrapping my head around all these different things. And again, I'm practical. So once it kind of makes sense to me, I'm like a pit bull, I lock in. Yeah. Right? So I call that my waking moment. So I kind of got woke. Right. And then I connected myself at that point with the people who were on the ground floor. Mm-hmm. And these are people like Valencia Gunda. These are people like Munch. These are people who are in the streets, dealing with it raw on a daily basis. It's their life. Mm-hmm. And I started the Circle of Brotherhood. I started quickly learning like, wow, okay. Sidebar. Before that, I was looking for people to connect with. Okay. Other black people who were trying to do good in the community. So I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to feel like I'm disrespecting them, Gotcha. But there were certain organizations that were trying to do good, but, all the guys were in suits or this or that. And I didn't connect well with it. It didn't feel right.
Well, you really can't be a part of anything that you can't connect with on some level.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like it's not about not only an attitude. It's about you have to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
On many
and then
levels.
I felt like, and then I felt like when I would see it, because it reminded me of those things I used to be a part of, going back to that. Okay. And remember I said I was a part of these things, but I felt it wasn't right. So what happened is that, going back to that, I now realized, I'm like, you know what? Again, no disrespect to anybody. Like, whatever help is help. It's great. But I realized that like people's true intentions, like a lot of people were into things for the photo ops. A lot of people would do things, you know, like, oh yeah, we do these 4 things a year. Okay, yeah, this is what we do. This, you know, hey, take the picture, hey. And then I started like connecting with people who don't care about photo ops, who, you know, they're doing a million things and we just don't even know about it.
You don't even know it.
So then I said, you know what? I have this platform with the radio, and I'm constantly lending my platform to people who are looking for the photo ops and all these different things.
Yeah, there's some kind of fame, some
Right.
kind of...
The
What if
glitz
I
and
was to
glamour.
flip this and offer my platform to people who don't have any PR. And the only way is just them simply hitting me up and saying, hey, I have this going on here, I'm trying to do that. And I can put them on the radio to talk about it and people can understand what they do. They don't have the means, they don't write the best emails, but they're doing the work. So I started championing it on the radio, and I was slick. So take it back to now when I was dealing with the elections. So asking millennials to come out and vote is not sexy at all. So that's why people, like, you know, other than the veteran artists who make a commitment to do it, that's why you don't see most radio personalities doing it. You know, if they see an artist attached to it, then they'll jump on it for that look. But they themselves are not spearheading anything like that because it's not sexy. And most radio personalities want to associate themselves or be co-signed with something sexy or cool. So they want to take a picture with Meek Mill, or they want to go to this VIP party and have access to Diddy. And that stuff never really did anything for me, to be real with you. You know what I mean? I was the kind of person, I'll do my work and I'll just go home. And I'm straight on that. You know what I'm saying?
Because you're working. You're not
I'm working.
You're not being a fan.
Listen, if you go to my Instagram now, from it started, any majority of the pictures you see with me with celebrities is at my job.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for them in the club, in the VIP or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not to mention the friends I hang out with, they feel they're bigger than celebrities than the celebrities anyway. Shout out to my Timeless crew, but you know, so that was just kind of like me, you know? So I started quickly realizing, like, what if I was to try to make it sexy? You know, what if I was to be the one to kind of pioneer and say, hey, we're going to make voting sexy, we're going to make caring about your community sexy, we're going to make entrepreneurship sexy. And then that was my goal. But how am I going to go to a commercial profit radio station and tell them, hey, I want opportunity, prime time on this station to talk to my people about entrepreneurship and community. Fuck out of here. Like, you know, listen, man, we here to sell ads. We ain't got time for that shit, you know? We shoving hip-hop and ignorance down their ears, and that's it. We in the business of profit. Here's the beauty of what happened. So, what happened was, because I decided to make the move and make voting sexy, the DNC got wind of me. So, if you don't know what the DNC is, it's the Democratic National Convention.
Yes.
They grabbed me, and because Florida was so important, and South Florida was so important, they quickly made me like the man for that election. So I got to speak to Hillary. I got to interview Barack Obama. Wow. I got to interview Cory Booker, like you name it. I had them on my radio show. I had them live. Every time Obama came, I hosted it.
That is dope.
It was like that because there was nobody else
Doing that work.
Because, you know, it wasn't deemed as sexy.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, this is great for me. But because I had that access, my job, it's a big deal to them that I could talk to Obama.
Of course.
Their news stations couldn't talk to Obama. Their national syndications couldn't talk to Obama. You know what I mean? So it quickly became a big deal.
Of course.
So I had a plan. And I know I'm giving it away now, but I know I could give it away because they can't take it away now. So I said, you know what? I'm going to set up a structure now. But when the election's over, I'm going to maintain that structure and run with it. So the structure was, I went to my bosses and said, hey, I have all these politicians come in and wanted to talk to me live and interviews and all that stuff, and I'm getting all this attention. I want to create Mondays and Wednesdays as an opportunity to talk to millennials about voting. It's a big deal, and have these interviews. So they okayed it. But I knew once the election ended that I would continue that. So that Monday and Wednesday when I would talk to the Obamas and the Hillarys and the Cory Bookers and different people, even locally, about getting millennials to vote and why it's important to vote and all those things, morphed into Mondays being Urbanpreneur Mondays, where I talk to brown and black entrepreneurs, and Wednesdays the stage, a platform for people doing amazing things in and for the community, which is a community platform. Prime time. I interview these people live on a hip-hop station during rush hour, between 4 and 5:30. Please tell me any hip-hop radio station, any pop station, genre 18 to 34, that does that.
No one.
None. People don't even understand what's going on right now. And we've been doing this like about, 3 years now. But like I always say, and I tell people, especially the millennials and people, like, everything takes 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, fact.
Everything takes 3 to 5 years. Look at it the same way you look at a college education. If you start something, if you start this podcast, what you're doing, you can't expect next week, 6 months, and we popping. It's crazy out here. We wild. You know what I'm saying? Don't force ripen either. Don't buy likes and do that's force ripen. You know what I'm saying? Be organic. Put out good material and give it 3 to 5 years. Put in the work. And I guarantee you, and if you do it, I always graduate early. In everything I do, 3 years has been my point. I average it out at 4, but or if it takes a little longer, 5. But I've been fortunate enough that everything that I've given that timeline to, I've been able to accomplish in 3 years. So that being said, we're at our 3-year point with the festival and the whole movement. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I'm physically watching it morph into what it needs to be.
A different monster altogether.
It's a different monster altogether.
I mean, when you first started doing the festival, I mean, people don't realize that you see pretty much everyone in the city go through your doors. You've seen many local artists that have made it and not so much made it. I mean, what do you have to say about that kind of drive? The same way you have the same kind of drive you had to get into radio. You see these young cats try to come in. How do you feel they're really, do you feel like they're hungry enough to get on the radio or to actually be solid artists or be part of anything larger than themselves?
I think it's a crazy rule that what it takes for somebody to be on the radio. What got me to the radio was watching movies like Five Heartbeats, and I'm probably aging myself, and that's fine. Watching movies like Five Heartbeats and other movies where radio was community. So this is what I'm bringing back. I'm bringing back community to radio with the Urbanpreneur Mondays, with the stage on Wednesdays, and with Famous Fridays is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So Famous Fridays is an opportunity for me to talk to local Instagram models, talk to local artists and local people. Because this is my view on it. The station belongs to the community, and the community belongs to everyone. I interview local artists the same way I would interview Future.
Okay.
Why not?
Of course.
Everybody has a story. And that's all I ask. Have a story. Like, put in some work that I can talk about, and I'll be more than happy to have you on and be able to talk about it.
Now, with so many webs put together on the radio, the festival comes around.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you put together the fest?
All right, so you're not going to believe this, but literally the first year we did it, I thought of the idea in February, and we did the first one in June.
I mean, a little rush maybe?
No. No.
Naturally?
Yeah.
It all came together, organic.
how many people you know, and it goes to my point, because everything connects. How many people you know say, I need to lose 20 pounds, or I need to do this. My New Year's resolution is that. I don't believe in New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
I'll start Monday.
Exactly.
I don't believe in God. I don't believe in nothing. You understand?
Right.
But my abilities, you understand? So that's where I put it into. You understand? And I believe that if I can inspire and empower people, and I work a lot with women because they're the best to work with. I believe if you can inspire and empower people, then that's when you see things happen.
Now you're onto something.
You understand what I'm saying? So if I had said in February, like, yo, I have this idea that I want to create a platform and have all these artists and create a Disneyland for kids, because this is all my ideas. And maybe we'll throw in a basketball tournament. We'll throw on some, because no, the football wasn't on there. Maybe we'll throw in a basketball tournament, and I'll bring these vendors, and I'm going to make rich white people pay for it. Because a part of it was me being a Robin Hood. And I respect them, and I appreciate all my sponsors, but that was my thought. Okay, I'm going to take other people's money and have them sponsor the events, and then I'm going to give back to the people in that kind of a way. So if I had just thought about it and say, you know what, maybe I'll do that next year. Who's to say? It may have never happened. Something else would have come my way, this, that, da, da, da. Go, man. Go. Just go.
I think it's amazing how you've done all these things, and on top of that, to have your Mondays and your Mondays for entrepreneurship. How do you keep that? Like, how does mainstream radio even conceive that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's the 52 fake out. It was based on the premise of me being able to have all these high level politicians on air, which like nationally, like again, you know, like who can get Obama.
Right, and if you would have shied away
Exactly.
from that one opportunity to even be in that position, none of this would have even happened.
Right, so I just morphed it. And by that time, you know, you have to understand the game you're playing too. So you have to understand, like, hey, let things fly below the radar, establish it first, establish the need, give it the attention. I mean, I could talk about it now, but I had things in place. And maybe some things I don't know, but I'm just so, like, an open book. But I had it in place, like, if my company wanted to take away the opportunity for me to be able to have on entrepreneurs and local leaders, that they would protest. I would have protesters come to the radio station, fill up the lobby, and be like, we need this back on the air. Like, so because any plan without strategy is like, you ain't doing it. You're not doing anything. You're wasting your time. You're wasting other people's time.
The art of war with Papa.
You have to. You have to strategize. You have to think like, you know, you have to think for people, and you have to have a plan, because once you walk out your doors, everybody else is planning for you. I'm telling you.
I love the way you think, Papa Keith.
Listen, man, this is from getting
For
my
real.
ass kicked for years.
Do you love it when they call you Big Papa? Do they?
I actually don't. I actually don't. I'm comfortable with it. Whatever people want to call me, I'm cool. I don't make a big deal.
Talking about the People Matter Fest,
Yes.
tell me about the ceasefire and just overall promoting nonviolence and peace and encouraging all residents, specifically here in South Florida, to celebrate life.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so with the festival, that was an idea, but in anything you're doing, going back to strategy, you should have a call to action, or else you're just doing something to do it. Then it may be perceived that you might be doing things for the wrong reasons or whatever. So myself and my team, we came up with a call of action to create a 24-hour ceasefire. I always felt as though, again, the birth of all of this was seeing everything go wrong for 15 years. To give you an example, and I'll go right back into it, it's like, so when I would talk about doing events, I would go to an event called a Teen Summit, right? This is a Teen Summit. And this is more than recently, like 6-7 years ago. Okay. I'll go to a Teen Summit. And they would say, hey, we want you to come out, hype up the kids. Okay, no problem. And who's your guest speaker? Tyrese.
Okay.
Right? Cool. At the time, I didn't get it. I was like, whatever. I would come to the event. I would hype up the kids. After I hype up the kids, I would watch these elected officials take the kids from the high that I had them and bring them right back down. And then I would watch these special guests come, and I would watch the kids so disengaged. At the end of the day, I quickly realized when I woke up that all of that stuff that I was a part of and seeing and all these different things was organizations and people trying to relive their dreams, their childhood, and say they're doing it in the honor of these kids. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Tyrese is not relevant to a teenager. Period. Period. But Tyrese was somebody who organized it. Favorite artist, favorite actor, favorite something. So this now becomes a photo opportunity and a get close opportunity, and I was able to hire him opportunity for them. But who suffers?
The children.
The kids. They're disengaged, they don't care, they didn't learn anything, and you're doing all of this in the honor of the kids, but it really had nothing to do with the kids. And the one shining moment for the kids was me, and I was like this much of a part of it. I hyped them up, play their favorite songs, do dance competitions. Peace out, bye. They're bored the rest of the day.
And this is during school?
During school, it'll
So
be.
they miss school.
Yes.
So when they had no.
And when I tell you I've done tons of these.
You didn't know a single word to Sweet Lady.
Right, exactly. Or who he was. I think that was the guy in one of those Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah.
Or the Transformers.
Okay,
That's might have been
That's
a connection.
the closest thing they would say.
The closest connection. So I started realizing. So before I started taking things in my own hand, I tried to work with people. And I worked with a few and was able to get my message across, but the majority no. Because who am I to tell them how they need to do what they need to do with their money, who they need to hire, whatever. Like I said, a few did listen, and I work with them, and I still work with them to this day. But then I realized, hey, if you want something done, you have to do it yourself. So to really give you the crux of the People Matter Fest and a true understanding, and then tie it back into the 24-hour ceasefire, what I realized to kind of cap off everything, I've been watching everybody preach to the choir. What preaching to the choir means, if you're a pastor and you have a house full of congregation of sinners and people who need all kind of help, you're actually turning your back on those same congregation and people who need the help, and you're talking to your choir who already knows everything that needs to be done, and they understand how everything works, and it's a waste. You understand what I'm saying? Ultimately. Instead, right, you're screaming at yourself, you're turning around, you're back to the audience that needs the message, and you're talking to the choir alone. So I realized that everything that I saw, everything I witnessed, everything that I was a part of was all wrong. So I said, you know what? The very thing that they're trying to use as the blame for everything that's happening with gun violence and everything that's happening with negativity with the youth, hip-hop, I'm going to take that very thing and turn it around and make it into something positive. I've known hip-hop all my life. I was born in the birth of hip-hop. You understand what I'm saying? I've played hip-hop, been involved with hip-hop all my life. Like I said, even when I was playing reggae music, I was introducing hip-hop to that reggae audience. It's always played a role in my life, to this day, obviously. Yeah. I'm going to take this thing that they constantly use as the blame for drugs and alcohol and everything negative, and I'm going to show how hip-hop could be something positive. How are you trying to reach an audience of these so-called killers and drug dealers and all of that with gospel music?
That ain't gonna happen.
With old school hip hop and R&B? Think of all the festivals you've been to that try to cater to community and stuff. It's always gospel, and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not here to knock what anybody does. Y'all keep doing what you do. But this is what I do. if you want to reach out to that audience that you so feels needs the help, the congregation that you want to talk to, you want to talk to the killers and the robbers and the drug dealers, shouldn't you try to reach them through hip-hop? The young kids, what are they listening to?
Hip-hop.
I've gone into meetings with those same corporations and people who making decisions and stuff like that. When they hear the word hip-hop festival and they hear these things, they cringe. I'm telling you, when I used to ask to do things, they would say, please just don't mention hip-hop. Why? It's just a negative stigma.
It's a
It
stigma.
always has a negative
The
connotation.
negative connotation, exactly. To the point where now, I was in a meeting with the mayor, the deputy mayor, the major of the Miami-Dade, police force, the captains of fire, and I'm explaining to them, I'm doing a hip-hop festival. I'm doing a hip-hop festival.
Kudos to you, sir.
And able to get their blessing because they saw last year, like, just give it a shot.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not going to say, even with the People Manifest, that the Saturday or moving so forward, nothing could ever happen. It's life, you know? Things happen, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But we cannot continue to turn our back on hip-hop when this is what our kids are listening to and love and growing up on. Because essentially, you're kind of turning your back on them, too.
At some point you do. Because when you start doing these events, some people start making it a money thing. But so many gems. So many. Papa Keith, I want to keep you on the radio station for a while, man. I want to keep you on the show for a while, but we got to start wrapping up, bro.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
You've dropped so many gems for us. I just wish I could pick your brain a little bit longer, bro.
Well, we could always come back after the festival and do some more.
Are you down
and
for
stuff like that?
the People Matter Fest recap?
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Let's do this.
Sure.
love
This
that.
Saturday, though, I just want to invite, I know y'all shutting down, everybody out to the People Matter Festival. It's our 3rd annual. We have Trina, we have Ball Greasy, we have a host of other artists. We have food trucks, we have a
Art,
kids zone.
music, kids
Yes.
zone,
Three of
sports,
us. World.
Game where you down inside?
Yes.
community resources.
That is correct. You understand? We have a flag football tournament. We have everything, all the resources for a kid, an adult, and a family to come out. And all we're asking for is a 24-hour ceasefire, no fatalities from any guns. We start 7 p.m. the Friday until the end of the festival, which will be 24 hours. We were able to accomplish it last year, and we're looking to make history again this year. Please join us. It's at Gwen Cherry Park this Saturday. Bring your whole family. Come out
It's
and
free
enjoy.
admission, everybody.
Yes. Yes, unity, community, and hip-hop.
And
People
I
Manifest.
just want to say, Papa Keith, I'm so happy to have you on the show because you've been. I don't remember not hearing you on the radio. So it's just
Straight
good
up.
to have you on the show, and man, to see that you've always been doing positive things for the community. Commend you for all that. And I'm fucking glad to have you. So hopefully, I have you back next time after the event, and we can keep politicking and keep building. Because this is just really good energy with you, man. So thank you for coming on
I
the show.
appreciate the
Thank you for your
opportunity.
time.
Where
Thank
can we
you all.
find you online?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Papa_Keith. Go to the People Manifest website at peoplemanifest.com. Follow People Manifest on Instagram. Follow the movement at PK4 PM on Instagram as well. Thank you.
Yo, and Will. I'm glad to have Will on the show today.
It was
said
a
we
good one.
feel
It was
like
a
I'm the
good
guest
one.
here.
You said we have the best shows when you're here.
That's right,
All right, I'm
man.
honored.
It was.
We have a lot of shows that are all really dope. We have some other photographers. Shout out to Jen and Jason. That came out late last time. Whatever. Jen. Shout out to Jen. So, anyways, we got different people come out, but man, Will shows up. It's because something really big is happening.
That's what's
Good
up,
energy.
man. Thanks, Will.
So I'm glad to have Will here. So I don't know what else, Drea.
Thank you guys for
Thank you for
tuning
coming
in
out.
to
Thank you
305
for
Radio,
listening.
a part of 305 Magazine on Miami Underground Radio. But you can also find us everywhere, so make sure you guys follow us on IG at 305 Radio, and you can find us on all other platforms. Thank you so much, Papa Keith. It was a blessing to have you here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.